and welcome to what is probably your first video in Physics 30S. I'm going to be talking today about conversion factors. Now, these are wonderful little devices that you're going to use not only in physics, but in chemistry, and in fact, probably throughout a whole bunch of academic courses that you're going to end up taking. And factors are things you multiply. And so we're going to multiply conversion factors that always have a value of 1. So what we're going to do in this case here, we've got 12 minutes. And like I said, I'm going to multiply something that has a value of 1, and it's going to be a fraction. Now, how do you make a fraction which has a value of 1? Well, what's in the top of the fraction, the numerator, and what's in the bottom of the fraction, the denominator, has to be equal. So what I want to do is think about what is the relationship between minutes and seconds. So I know that 60 seconds is equal to 1 minute. So the two sides here are equal. So there are two different versions of conversion fractions I could make. I could make one that is 60 seconds over 1 minute, or I could make 1 minute over 60 seconds. Now the key is I want to pick one of these that will be changing the units. So if I pick this one and put it as my conversion fraction, notice what happens. So I'll write it in here, 60 seconds over 1 minute. And I'll just erase some of my old work here so that we can see what's going on, equals. Now, check out what happens with the units. I have the minutes here and the minutes there. So I have a minutes in the numerator and minutes in the denominator. Those are going to cancel out. So now I'm going to have simply 12 times 60, which is what, 720? Divided by, well, you can think of this as 12 over 1. 1 times 1 is 1. So really, 720 over 1 is the same thing as 720, and now the units are seconds. So just to review, what did we do? We said, okay, I need to make two fractions where the numerator and the denominator are equal, and then I multiply it out, and 12 minutes and 720 seconds are equal. They mean the same thing. The only thing is I've changed it by a particular version of 1, 60 seconds over 1 minute, which has a value of 1, and all it did was change the units. Let's try the second one here. The second one says, if 1 cup of water has a mass of 250 grams. Okay, so I think that's going to be my key. 1 cup is going to be 250 grams. So right away I'm thinking, okay, so there are two versions here. I can have 1 cup over 250 grams, or I can have 250 grams over 1 cup. Those are my two conversion fractions. Now let's go back to the question. How many cups is equal to 1250 grams? Okay, so I'll write it out like I did before. I'll start with what I know, 1250 grams, multiplied by, now which one do I want to pick? I want to pick the one that has my existing grams is what I want, and I want to get rid of those, so I want to have grams in the denominator. So I want to pick door number 8 here. I want to pick that one. So I get 1 cup over 250 grams. So 1250 divided by 250, if I get my calculator out, I think that's going to be 5. The answer would be 5 cups. And there is my answer. I'll put a nice box around it. Okay, third example. Convert 3,200 meters into kilometers. Okay, so it's going to be 3,200 meters times something, and later on I'll turn that into kilometers. Now, some of you already know what's the relationship between meters and kilometers, but if you're not sure, we can take a look. We've got a little bit of a graph here, or of a chart, pardon me. So kilo here actually means 1,000. So when I see kilometers, 1 kilometer, this part here, the kilo part, literally means 1,000. So I can rewrite that and say, another way of writing it is to say 1,000 meters. So there's the relationship. 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. So in other words, I changed the kilo to 1,000. It means exactly the same thing. All right, so how shall I set up my fraction? Well, I want to get rid of the meters, so I'm going to take the 1,000 meters and put it down here, and put the 1 kilometer on the top. The meters cancel out. So now I have 3,200 times 1, still 3,200, divided by 1,000, so that's going to be 3.2 kilometers, and there's my answer. All right, here is a your turn question. Convert. You know what? I think I'm going to do the first one here. 24.3 millimeters into centimeters. All right. 24.3 millimeters times. Now, there will be some of you out there that will know that millimeters are smaller than centimeters, and that you actually get 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter. In which case, we can just, oh, I made a mistake, didn't I? It should be 2 m's here. 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter. In which case, we can just go and put the millimeters in the denominator and put the 1 centimeters up top. So the millimeters cancel out, and I'll have 24.3 divided by 10, so I would get 2.43 centimeters. But let's just say, what about if you weren't as familiar with the metric system, and you're going, hey, I wonder what the relationship is between millimeters and centimeters. So we could go back to our chart here, and we say, okay, the millimeter is this one. Milli actually means thousandth. So I'm going to use that 10 to the negative 3 business. So in other words, 1 millimeter is equal to 10 to the negative 3 meters. Okay, and similarly, 1 centimeter is equal to 10 to the negative 2 meters. So what I can do is I can think, okay, I can, and I'll do some space here. I'll just get rid of this so I can do this again. Starting off with 24.3 millimeters. Now, if I want to convert that into meters times, so it's kind of a two-step process. I'm going to go from millimeters into meters, and then from meters into centimeters, because each of these relationships here is between millimeters and meters, and this is between centimeters and meters. So I'm going to use this one here to set up my first conversion fraction. So my first conversion fraction will be to change between millimeters and meters. So what do I get? I get my millimeters will go in the denominator, 1 millimeter, and my 10 to negative 3 meters in the numerator. So that's my first step. Okay, now when I'm done that, and I don't actually have to do the math yet, I would end up with meters. 24.3 times 10 to the negative 3 meters. And if you're not sure how to do that on your calculator, you can definitely ask me in class. I'd be more than happy to show you how to do that. But we need to do our second step. So we've done this part here from millimeters into meters. Now we need to go from meters into centimeters. So we'll use this relationship here to do from meters into centimeters. At this point we have, let's see if I can pick a blue, we have meters, and I want to get rid of the meters. So I want to put this part here that has meters in the denominator, and this part here, 1 centimeter. Okay, so you might say, oh, this, Mr. Speiser, this is so much more confusing. Why can't I just use the 10? Well, of course you can. If you know that 10 millimeters is equal to 1 centimeter, go for it, you're done. But if you're going and saying, I'm not sure, and sometimes when the units are, if you're dealing with mega and micro and things like that, you might actually want to do this two-step process. So now notice what happens. Now my meters canceled out with meters. So what do I get? I get 24.3 times 10 to the negative 3 divided by 10 to the negative 2. Okay, now depending on how comfortable you are with the math, you might just want to type that out on your calculator, or you could go and say, okay, 10 to the negative 3 divided by 10 to the negative 2. How does that work? When you're dividing, you subtract. You're subtracting a negative 2. In any case, if you if you do the workout, you're going to get the same answer, which in this case would be 24.3 times 10 to the negative 1, which is a tenth, which is 2.43. And our units would be the ones that are left over, these ones over here, centimeters, because everything else is canceled out, centimeters. Okay, so that's a bit of a confusing one, but if you have the notes here, you should be okay. I would like you to try the your turn question here. If 1 mole of oxygen gas has a mass of 32 grams, then a container of 1,792 grams of oxygen gas is how many moles? So I want you to hit the pause now, try this on your own, and then press play, and then I'll show you the answer. Alright, I'll give you the reveal in about 1 more second. Okay, so I said 1 mole is equal to 32 grams, so I'm going to be using this to make my conversion fraction. And if I'm starting with 1,792 grams, I'm going to multiply this, so I'm going to do the version where grams gets cancelled out. So I have 1792 times 1 divided by 32. This is actually a part where you'd have to get your calculator out, and you get the answer of 56 moles. Hope that worked out well for you. Okay, so example number 3. 1 hour into seconds. Okay, well, let's think about this. We've got, we're going to actually have to do this in 2 steps again. So I'm going to think about going from hours, and then I'll convert to minutes, and then I'll convert to seconds. So I'm going to do 2 different conversion fractions. First, from hours to minutes. What's the relationship? Well, 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. So I will start off and I'll say 1 hour times, now I'm going to make a conversion fraction out of this. I'm going to put the hour in the denominator and 60 minutes on the top. Times. Now the second thing I'm going to have to do is think about between minutes and seconds. Well, 1 minute is the same thing as 60 seconds. So at this point, when I think about what's canceled out, the hours have canceled out, and I have minutes. So now I have minutes in the numerator. I want to get this minute in the denominator to cancel that out. So I'm going to say 1 minute over 60 seconds. So I'm going to kind of direct my equal sign down over there. It turns into 60 times 60, which is 3,600. And my units are, well, because everything else is canceled out, my units has to be seconds. All right. Oh, example number 4. Kilograms into, what the heck is a CG? Haven't seen that very much. Well, a CG is going to be a centigram. That's kind of crazy. Just like we have centimeters, we can have centigrams. So I'm going to think about it's going to be another 2-step process. I'm going to go from kilograms into meters, and then I'm going to go into hold on a second. Oops, I made a mistake here. Instead of going from I can't go from kilograms to meters. The base unit here, kilograms, I have to go from kilograms to grams. So I'm going to say G for grams. That will be my first conversion, and then my second one will be from grams into centigrams. I know it's not a very common unit, but I just want to give an example where we would probably have to do one of these two conversion things. kilograms and grams. Well, from that chart, the kilo part of kilograms literally means 1,000. So 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. And looking between grams and centigrams, the centi, oh, where's the chart here? Way over here. Centi means 100th or 10 to the negative 2. So I can say that this centi means 10 to the negative 2. So 1 centigram is equal to the same thing as 10 to the negative 2 grams. Okay, so let's do the conversion. We're going to start off with 2.3 kilograms. Now I'm going to multiply it by a version of this, and I want to get rid of the kilograms, so I'll put the kilograms in the denominator, and I'll put the 1,000 grams in the numerator. That will cancel this out. And now I'm going to go and say, okay, I need to put the grams, since this is in the numerator, I need to put grams in the denominator, so I'm going to say 10 to the negative 2 grams, and in the numerator, 1 centigram equals, here I'll make a little bit of space here. So now my kilograms have canceled out, my grams have canceled out, so I have 2.3 times 1,000 divided by 10 to the negative 2. So 2.3 times 1,000, and then I'll say divided by 10 to the negative 2. I'm guessing that some of you are going to be stumbling on how to type in the divided by 10 to the negative 2. It depends a little bit on your calculator. For a lot of you, it would be clearly hit the divided by button, type in 10, and depending on your calculator, sometimes you've got a key that looks like this, and then you can use the negative 2 button. Sometimes you're going to have a 10 to the x button, in which case you can say divided by, hit this button, and then hit negative 2. Have a calculator, bring it to class, and I'll show you how to do it. You know you've done it right when you get an answer of 230,000. And so the answers are going to be centigrams. All right. Now example number 5. The conversion into kilometers per hour into meters per second is one that we do a fair amount in physics. So this is one that you probably don't have to do every single time, because if we do it once and remember how it works, we can kind of remember it. So 12 kilometers per hour. Well, there's two conversions we're thinking about. We need to convert kilometers into meters, and then later on we'll do hours into seconds. So thinking about the kilometers into meters, so 1 kilometer is equal to 1,000 meters. So if we're going to do that conversion, I need to get rid of the kilometers, so I'll put the kilometer in the denominator, and I need to have 1,000 meters, so I'll put that in the numerator. The second conversion I need to do is between hours and seconds. So when I do between hours and seconds, I'm thinking, okay, 1 hour is equal to, now we've done this already, 3,600 seconds. So now I have to be careful here. I think, okay, my kilometers cancel out, and now my hours are in the denominator. So to get rid of the hours, I'm going to have this hour up here and the 3,600 seconds down there. And now how does it cancel out? Hour cancels out with hour. So when I multiply it all out, I'm going to get 12 times 1,000 divided by 3,600. Now, this times 1,000 divided by 3,600, just as a shortcut, when you're going from kilometers per hour to meters per second, the shortcut is to remember, if you think about reducing this fraction, this would be the same thing as 12 times 1 over 3.6. Okay, or I'm going to say the easiest way to think about this is to divide by 3.6. So if you want to remember this, you can say if you're going from kilometers per hour and you need to convert it to meters per second, just divide by 3.6. But for now, for this one, I'm going to get my calculator out and I'll say, okay, 12 times 1,000, so that's 12,000, and then divide by 3,600, and then what is my answer? All right, so I get 3.3 repeating, and my units would be meters per second. And I'm looking, how many 3 should I keep? Well, this is a good old significant digit question. If I've got 2 digits to begin with, and I'm just multiplying and dividing, I should only keep 2. So my answer would be 3.3 meters per second. And there's my answer. Okay, so I want to give you your turn now again. If 1 kilogram is equal to 2.2 pounds, and if my bathroom scale reads 187 pounds, find my mass. Oh, but find my mass in grams. So it's going to be a 2-step. Okay, so I want you to hit pause now, give it a try, and then I'll give you the reveal in just a little while. All right, in just a couple seconds, I'll show you the answer. All right, so I just recopied this piece out, and then I said, okay, if I can go from pounds, and if I multiply by that conversion fraction, my pounds disappears, and at this point I've got kilograms, but I don't want to end up with kilograms, I actually want to end up with grams. So I have to think about what is the relationship between kilograms and grams. Well, 1 kilogram is equal to 1,000 grams. So I'm going to multiply this by a second fraction, and since I have kilograms in the numerator, I better put this one in the denominator and put the 1,000 grams up there. And now my kilograms cancel out, and so I have 187 times 1,000 divided by 2.2, which is about 85,000. Actually, it is 85,000 grams. Make sure I put the units in there after all that work. Okay, so I hope that made sense for you, and I will see you in class.